Welcome to A Higher Future in Healthcare, a special series exploring a growing crisis in healthcare, hiring quality talent to deliver quality care. I'm Ubaldo Siminietti, your host, and I sit down with some of the industry's top voices in hiring and recruiting to dissect one of healthcare's biggest obstacles, in the hopes of learning from each other and sharing that information to help us improve how and who we hire so that we can take better care of the communities and the people we serve. I am here with Marjorie Alexander from ChenMed. Welcome. How are you?
Thank you, Ubaldo. I'm doing great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming and thanks for being on the show today. Tell us a little bit about ChenMed, because I find the history of ChenMed very fascinating and way ahead of its time.
ChenMed is a really great organization to work for. I'm very proud to be there. So basically, ChenMed has been around for 35 years, originated in Miami, Florida, and has been able to grow to 15 different states. We have over 125 centers. And basically what we do is we take care of the neediest, poorest, sickest elderly population who are the forgotten ones. They have very complex comorbidities, and they don't have the resources to be taken care of. And they end up in the hospital. And we all know what happens when people end up in the hospital, especially when they're elderly and poor and can't take care of themselves. They might have food insecurity and things like that. Right. It just goes downhill from there. So we've made it our mission to take care of those individuals that need us the most, to keep them out of the hospital, and to keep them healthy and happy and at home.
I'm going to pause for a second. I'm going to move. Can you move this? Do you mind moving this over here? I just want to make sure it doesn't. Hold on. Yeah, perfect. Because I just don't want it to rub. Okay. And then I'll jump back in. I'll cut this out. So it sounds like, and you mentioned this before we hit record, but ChenMed was founded based on value-based care. Correct. Which I know now just from insight and experience, because my wife works in healthcare, that value-based care has become critical to, and almost I think it's a requirement as far as how hospitals and health systems treat patients. But you all started from the very beginning with that idea. Can you talk about that? Like why, and the importance of that being the tip of the spear, I think, as you said.
Yeah, absolutely. So Dr. James Chen, who's the founder of our organization, together with his wife, Mrs. Mary Chen, he actually had an illness. He was diagnosed incorrectly. And the family of doctors, their sons are doctors, cardiologists. Dr. Chen, of course, is a physician. And as a family of doctors, they had such a difficult time navigating through the healthcare system. The diagnosis was erroneous. They couldn't get the answers. They couldn't get the care. And they thought, if a family of physicians are having so much trouble getting the care that is needed and being seen, the wait times were outrageous, and even being seen in a timely manner and getting answers. Imagine somebody who's not coming from a family of doctors. So Absolutely. They saw a big need, and they wanted to do something to help. And it's just incredibly inspiring how the family was able to build their organization just one center at a time, and just never losing focus on the mission to keep people out of the hospital and to keep people healthy and happy at home, specifically those that are elderly, the sickest, neediest, and poorest population.
Absolutely.
Who find it so hard to find the right healthcare, and who always end up in the ER, always end up being referred, and always end up losing everything because they already have not much to begin with.
Yeah, no, that's incredible. And because also, I mean, just from a living perspective, right, to have to constantly go back and forth into a facility or a hospital or urgent care, that's not a life.
It's not.
And how, so you have these centers. Is there also kind of a home-based version or that keeps them comfortable, like where they are, but is able to treat them? And what has the effect of that been on their overall health?
Yes, so we open centers in the facilities where we have identified this is where the population that is in most need of us being there, right. Where they're located. And we go there, we pick them up, we help them with everything we can, with medication and with bingo, tai chi. If they have food insecurity, we take care of that around Thanksgiving time.
Yeah.
There might be a turkey.
Right, right. I love it.
For them, things like that. So we do everything
Yeah.
we possibly can to, not only give them their physical health, but also spiritual health and
Yeah.
mental health and emotional health. It's so
Yeah.
important because it's all tied together.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So how does this strategy, how does this mission of your organization impact your hiring?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting. When I first learned about ChenMed's mission, I thought, well, that must be very difficult to hire physicians because we take care of people that are 65 and older. The average age of our patients is 72. Not everybody wants to see only the elderly.
Right.
Family medicine physicians, they want to see cradle to grave. But we've been able to hire quite a large number of very quality mission-driven family medicine physicians who are okay only seeing the elderly. So that was a surprise for me. When you explain what we do, it really goes back to why physicians went into medicine in the first place,
Right.
to keep people out of the hospital, to prevent them from getting sick in the first place, versus celebrating how sick somebody is because now we're going to make some money.
Right.
So if you're able to communicate the mission and the purpose of this way of taking care of patients, people love it. What is there not to love?
Yeah.
And that really helps us attract the right kind of people that are aligned to our mission and that really want to do the right thing. Right. And so that's very helpful.
What have you seen in hiring in healthcare in general as a result of COVID, for example, that is causing sort of the issues we're seeing today in terms of maybe talent shortage, or having kind of this temp community where it's costing hospitals and health systems so much more, but they need the help. Like what do you see as a trajectory of hiring in healthcare right now?
Yeah, the trajectory is not looking too promising.
Yeah, right.
The looming, dooming physician shortage has been known for many decades. I remember about 15 years ago, I did a presentation on it.
Yeah.
So that's, and it was already well known then. And I think that with COVID, people, there's a whole layer of workforce that were getting close to retiring that would not have retired if COVID hadn't happened, that ended up retiring, which caused a huge gap in the workforce, not only in healthcare, but also you see it in shops, in restaurants, we see it everywhere. We wonder, where did these people go? How come there's a shortage?
Right.
Where are these people?
Right. It's a great question. Where did they all go?
So, thinking about this made me realize that there is a large population of, we have the aging and the graying of America. Not only patients are getting older, physicians are getting older.
Right.
So not only, we have a real struggle because we are losing a lot of physicians just because they retire.
Yeah.
And then, of course, when you look at the incoming physicians, very few physicians want to become primary care physicians these days because it doesn't pay as well as specialists.
Interesting.
So, we're seeing, I think the statistic, and forgive me if I'm not 100% correct, but in America, 75% of our physician population are specialists. 25% primary care, where in any other Western country, it's the other way around. 75% are primary care and then 25% specialists. Right. So that makes it very difficult because if you have a lot of people to refer to, but you don't have people to take care of the basic needs of people that don't need a specialist, that just need to be taken care of. And that's why it's so hard for people to find a physician or to make an appointment. The wait times are very long. And supply and demand, you mentioned the cost of temp work. Because of the shortage, there is no lack of supply. There's a high demand. So those prices are getting higher and higher.
Right.
We see it in the travel nurses. We see it in locum physicians. It's just it's an issue.
How are you all addressing that particular issue?
We're trying to use as few locums as possible by finding permanent physicians. Yeah. And it's so important, especially in value-based care, when you take care of the elderly people. They really want to build that trust with their physicians. And if we have locums coming through, and nothing wrong with a locum physician, thank goodness they're available, because we do need people to take care of the patients. But it doesn't help building the trust between the physician and patient, and that trust has been broken because physicians don't have time to take care of their patients. It's so quick. There's no eye contact. They're looking at their computer. So the trust is gone.
Right.
Which is why people go to the internet as well to self-diagnose.
Well, right. And then that becomes an issue. That's interesting. I hadn't thought about that because, we talk a lot about how technology can help potentially in the world of recruiting, particularly in healthcare, because I don't know, it seems to me there hasn't been any innovative solution presented to the recruiting and hiring issue in healthcare. It's just sort of the same old cycle. Because why do you think that is? Why do you think there's been a lack of innovation there?
It's funny you should mention this. I thought about this about a month ago, and I actually had a conversation with some colleagues from other organizations, and I said, why are we still doing the exact same thing that we did when I started 23 years ago?
Right.
The only difference is I had a phone book, now we have internet.
Right, yes.
I had a fax, believe it or not.
No, it's still.
Now we have cell phones.
Right.
But we're doing the exact same thing, which is crazy. I think thank goodness we have job boards and we have technology platforms where it's easier to find physicians, but it really only replaces the phone book in a way. The fact that we can place ads or post our jobs on, some of our vendors are here from the job board, so I won't mention specific names, which is great, but that replaces putting an ad in a paper when people used to. So we're essentially still doing the same.
Right.
So why? I don't know if anybody figured out what to do differently.
Yeah.
Why is it? Why is it that we're all fishing in the same pond? Yeah. Why is it that we don't share more? I mean, that's a
great question.
Let's say if there's 1 million physicians, if I don't need a cardiologist, maybe you need one. Why can't we share? Why are we all fighting over these candidates? And it rakes up the prices too, because there's competition, so we have to sign-on bonuses, forgivable loans, and offers. I scratch my head at that question. Yes.
It's a lot, and I think that's a big reason that healthcare is close to finding itself at a crossroads in this country. Would you agree that there's one way where healthcare goes where we're in trouble, and there's one way where it gets better?
Yeah.
How do we, and I don't think we're quite there yet, but we're close. I've heard we're very close.
Yeah.
What do you think are the steps that need to happen just in general to get us on the right path?
Yeah. So there are a few things that would be very helpful. And of course, we're already seeing an uptick in nurse practitioners, physician assistants, which is very helpful. I mean, there's multiple schools that have opened. I actually did all my pre-qualifications to become a physician assistant at some point and had to change due to a life event. Okay. So that's something that I'm interested in looking at. So I know that there are more physician assistants, more nurse practitioners. The whole idea that, here is a perfectly wonderful physician from another country. We make it so difficult for these physicians to come and work here.
Right.
While we need them so badly, and we make it so difficult. We have to convert 30. Why 30? Why can we only get 30 in the state? Why not 100?
Right.
There is this need. So I think we need to address this in a legislative type of way, political type of way, to get some laws changed and some policies changed, national and also state policies. And then also the issue of we have plenty of people that want to become a physician, but we don't have the slots. We don't have the medical schools. We don't have the residency programs. So if we could increase the top of the funnel for pre-med students coming into the mill of how to become a physician, that would be wonderful.
Yeah.
And we have to make it more attractive for people to choose primary care versus becoming a specialist.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
That pay gap is too big.
Yeah, interesting. Well, this has been fascinating, Marjorie. I really appreciate the insight. And any last words of wisdom?
I would challenge anybody in healthcare to just not live with the status quo and to keep thinking. It's our responsibility as a society to figure out how to change the broken system that we're in. I strongly believe value-based care is the future, because we can't keep up with the rising cost of healthcare. People lose their houses the moment they get admitted to the hospital. It's insane. They've worked their whole life for a house and they lose it. So it's all of our responsibility to find solutions for this.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
A Higher Future in Healthcare is a production of IIA Healthcare, a technology organization powered by the Interview IA interview platform designed to help healthcare organizations hire better. Learn more at www.iahealthcare.com and in collaboration with AAPPR, the Association for Advancing Physician and Provider Recruitment, the leading authority on physician and provider recruitment and retention. Learn more at www.aappr.org.